Okay, we're shifting gears a little bit, moving from writing to creating a resume and a cover letter. Um, and some of you have already created a resume. I'd ask you to try to revise it using some of the suggestions we're making in this class. First thing I'm asking you to do, your first assignment, is to select a job description to target your resume. We're going to target a resume towards a specific job. Creating a generic resume to put up online is fine, but when you're applying for a specific job, you want to really write that resume and that cover letter toward that particular job. So we need to see what the job looks like. I'm asking you to find a job description and to then investigate the employer. Do some background research on the employer. That's your first homework. Really important. When you evaluate or write a resume, you're going to write a resume with respect to a particular job. Will this resume, the one I'm giving you here, get you this job, this specific job? For example, at Crimson and Clover. You've got to include both in your homeworks, both the job description that you're applying for and your resume. We're going to compare them to each other. I've asked you to read one of the handouts. It's on Blackboard. Here's some things to consider as you're thinking about that. The visual appeal actually matters. The first impression makes a difference to someone who's reviewing resumes. And so make sure the font is standard, easy to read, large enough. Make sure the sections line up. And if you're using, and often bullet points help create a standard template. Margins can't be too tight, not less than 3/4 of an inch on either side. And make sure your headings stand out. Use bold or font or underline. Try to make the resume look pretty. The organization matters. If you're using a template, you can get these templates off of Microsoft Word. They're all pretty standard, and everyone who's read resumes will know you're using a template. Try to make yours a little bit unique. List the most relevant points first. If you got a good job experience, start with your experience. If you don't have much work experience, start with your academics. Whatever you want the employer to see first, list that first. And white space is necessary. You can't pack one page too full. It'll make it hard to read. At the top of your resume, you're going to list who you are, the contact information, so they can find you. Name and address, professional email address, not Beers or Us, phone number, web page, LinkedIn, anything you can do to let people find you. If education is your strength, then list education section first. Name of the school, your major, minor, GPA, if it's 3.0 or above. If you have relevant courses that are specifically relevant to the job, those are always nice to list. Any kind of special programs, if you've done any study abroad or other special programs, you go ahead and list that. Any awards, these kind of things can be listed under education. Next section might be relevant experience. And you can, if you use the word experience, you can list your internships right along with your jobs. Any volunteer work is totally relevant. If you're relevant, if you have a lot of experience, list this above education. If you don't, and education is your strength, then list education first. Try to describe the role of what you did, not simply the title. Look for action verbs as things that you have done. Try to list them as accomplishments rather than a job title. And anytime you can list the specific numbers, you supervised 12 students or managed a project budget worth $2,500, any kind of numerical detail is impressive. We're going to review it for the spelling, for dates. We're going to review everything for accuracy, because any kind of misspelled word is going to potentially put off an employer. I'd ask you to read the guidelines for resume. I just reviewed them briefly. It's a sample of a really nice resume you can take a look at. Make sure you include your work experience, your education, any kind of qualifications or relevant skills, interests, or hobbies, if they're appropriate. If you're an outdoor backpacker or a skier, that's okay, because particularly if you're farming, that shows you've got some outdoor willingness to be outdoors. Our objective is to get your resume to stand out in a positive way. We can do that and take as many drafts as we'd like. The first draft is going to come back to you with some comments. The second, the third, and the fourth will get better and better as we go. Anything that makes it stand out in a good way is great. But if you've got spelling errors or weird fonts or your bullets don't line up, silly little things are reasons for an employer, a potential employer, to dump yours on the floor rather than considering you for a further interview.